Welcome to IVF Real Talk.
I'm Lucy.
And I'm Yael. Welcome back, guys.
Today's episode is a really special one because we're talking all about donor conception, modern pathways to parenthood, and the many different ways families are created.
We're joined by three amazing guests today. First up, we have Dr. Ben Kroon, fertility specialist at Monash IVF, who's incredibly passionate about helping make parenthood accessible to more people through the donor program.
We're also joined by a very familiar face, our very own Matildas forward, Emily Gielnik, and her wife, Temica Gielnik. Emily has had an incredible career across both the A-League and internationally and is currently playing for Monterrey in Mexico while continuing to be a key part of the Matildas setup. Off the field though, Emily and Temica have been navigating something just as significant, their own journey to parenthood.
Temica has faced her own fertility challenges, including living with endometriosis. Together, they've gone through multiple rounds of IUI and IVF using a known donor, and they're thrilled to be welcoming their first child in July.
We're so grateful you're here to share your story because there are so many people navigating donor conception, fertility treatment, and family planning. And we know this conversation is going to help so many people feel seen, supported, and a little less alone. Welcome, guys.
Welcome everyone.
I'm Emily.
Hi, I'm Temica.
And I'm Ben.
We're so excited to have you guys. I think we might kick off with Emily and Temica. When did you guys first start talking about starting a family, and what made you take the first step to book in with Dr. Ben?
Well, we've been together for 11 years almost. Mm-hmm. So I think it was very early that we were starting to make a conversation on how we would start a family. But it didn't get serious until probably about 3-4 years ago. And we had a lot of advice from friends that had gone through that process as well. And they all said start a lot earlier than when you are ready to have a baby. So that's exactly what we did. And with those friends, we really trusted their experiences and advice. And 2 of our friends have actually had babies with Ben. So
wow.
And
not with Ben.
I love it. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
With Ben being the fertility specialist.
Right.
Yeah, that's special.
We had a really good first appointment, and it was kind of a no-brainer from there. So we were really lucky that we found someone that we liked from the start.
Were you guys referred from your friends directly through to Ben?
Yes, yeah. So 2 separate friend groups, and they both had seen Ben. So I just thought, oh, that's meant to be.
Well, that's a no-brainer.
Exactly, yeah. So we booked in straight away and kind of went from there.
Temica, we know you have endometriosis. Were you worried about what your fertility journey might look like?
Yes, when I did find out. However, when I started the journey, I didn't know that I had endometriosis. So I was, I guess, someone who was almost asymptomatic.
Wow.
I went along life pretty normal, and I could tell that things were changing as I got older, and maybe some symptoms were creeping in that I was pushing aside. But it wasn't until I started seriously looking into having a family where we investigated that, hey, there could be something, else at play here. So I think that was quite hard to deal with at the start. You go into it thinking there's nothing else that you need to worry about other than trying to have a family.
Yeah.
And then when you get news like that, it is something to process. But I will say, in a way, it was kind of nice that it happened second for us because I did already have Ben, who was so experienced in that area and was able to really guide us on what would be the next steps. And we were already doing the steps that you would do if you did have endo. So it kind of didn't seem as heavy, I guess.
Yeah.
But definitely something to still, process and think about. And for me as well, time was more, it felt like a bit heavy, like, oh, I've really got to get a move on. But we were already starting the process. So we were quite lucky from that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Me and Yael both have endo as well. And we found out on the fertility journey as well. And I kind of like it that way.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of think if I found out when I was 14 or 15, I would have had that burden on my shoulders. Do you kind of feel the same?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that time pressure, like you said.
I think me not having as many symptoms throughout my 20s as well, that's such a blessing. I hear so many other stories and other experiences. So I really just tried to always see the positive in that. And I was already in good hands. So I think you feel a little bit of comfort with that. And when I was speaking with Em as well, she felt, I guess, as a partner, a bit helpless in that area. But she probably felt more relaxed as well, knowing that, okay, well, we're already doing the steps that you would need to do anyway. And I would go to Ben with questions, like once I found out that information and, you know, did a bit of my own research, and he was able to really help me and guide me through what would be the best like protocols for my individual situation as well.
Dr. Ben, when someone like Temica with endometriosis comes into clinic, what are the key things you look at when first supporting a fertility journey?
I think, you know, as you said, your scenario was a bit different, right? We discovered it along the way. Not everyone's like that. So you often get people who have a really long history of it, and they rock up and they're terrified about what it's going to mean. What, you know, does it mean they're not going to get pregnant? It's super unique, I suppose, in the setting of a same-sex relationship where you're not actually infertile. I think that's the thing that people forget is you guys come in, it's not, you're not exposed to sperm, which is why you're not getting pregnant, right? It can't happen another way apart from fertility treatment. So, you know, if we did find endo, which we did, you know, it wasn't, it's not quite the same as when you've got a couple, you know, in a heterosexual relationship where a female partner is being exposed to sperm all the time, and you've got no other cause for them not getting pregnant. It must be the endo. You know, I mean, obviously there are other things we investigate, but it must be the endo. Whereas this might just be, in your case, something that gives you some pain or not too much pain, but, you know, something that we just find along the way that actually might have nothing to do with your fertility. It may not be something that's going to stop you getting pregnant. So, you know, it's a very different scenario. But, you know, we see endo every day, every single day, multiple times a day, and it affects what protocols we'll plan. It affects how you deal with people, their anxieties around it, and they've got to, of course, you know, decide what their main priority is, because some people, their main priority is pain, and they want to get pregnant, but actually the pain's the big deal. And when you talk to them, yes, you could do IVF to try to get them pregnant, or you might actually really need to do surgery because the pain is a really big factor, and they can't even have sex. They can't, you know, they're not coping with life, and surgery is, you know, their best option in certain circumstances. So it's really different. The other thing, and sorry, I keep on talking about it because we see so much endo, but you know, it does affect your ability to be able to do things, and for how someone feels about coming in and having scans. You know, there's lots of people who scans are awful. You know, they're miserable if you've got endo, and just things like embryo transfers or inseminations, you know, that can be really uncomfortable. So it really impacts everything that we do. Someone's got endo.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Did you suspect that Temica had endometriosis?
It feels like a long time ago now. You're saying how long ago it was. I remember you saying that maybe you talked about it with your GP and you'd had some symptoms, but you weren't sure. And you know, and we got a really good quality scan. And then I think that to anyone, you know, any of your listeners, there's a difference between scans. Not all scans are born equal, and it depends on the sonographer and the whoever's reading the scan. You know, you really need to go to a high quality women's imaging. The scans these days can find out. You do a very good job at picking up endometriosis. So I think that's what you had.
Yes, that worked in my case, and I think having that without having to have a potential surgery just kind of gave that peace of mind, like, okay, it is there, but I'm going to still keep going down the same path, which was, in my case, a great situation, which isn't for everyone. But I my priority was trying to fall pregnant first. I didn't need to do anything for pain management. And there's always like risk of like scarring and other things. And just touching on what Ben said as well, like just with scans with IVF, I definitely did experience that. Quite often we couldn't find my right ovary. Like there was just things we had to do.
Yeah.
It was something for us to navigate, but I felt really comfortable with Ben. So I think having a doctor that has that experience with it as well can definitely help.
It's a pretty good sign. If you can't find an ovary, it's got to be somewhere. If you have endometriosis, like in this exact case, you don't have to treat it. You don't have to have surgery. Yes, I know probably in the old days, people would have endometriosis diagnosed. The first thing the fertility specialist would say is, hey, listen, you just need to have some surgery and then we'll get on and do other things. We really don't do that now. It's very, and in your case, if the surgery had happened, there could be, substantial risk of something getting damaged and that, is really wouldn't have been helpful.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like a lot of people, or even a couple of years ago, do repeat surgeries. They have it every 6 months. And I'm like, oh my goodness, surely that has to be making things a little bit worse, right?
Yeah, that is totally not what we should be doing. Absolutely not. Everyone's really clear on that. There's no good evidence for repeat surgeries in fertility management. That's not to say we don't do them, but there really is not good evidence for it. And in fact, there's no evidence for it. And even with people who are just there for pain as opposed to fertility, really we should be getting whether it's pelvic floor physio, management with hormones. And there's so many other ways to manage it that don't involve surgery. So the fewer surgeries you have, the better, really.
Yeah.
We love the marina. Well, I love the marina. Life-changing for me.
I'm still considering.
Debating it.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
I might hit menopause first. That's another issue.
Love it.
So, guys, when you first started exploring donor conception, how did it feel? Was it overwhelming, exciting, confusing, all of the above?
Well, for me, I was very overwhelmed. I think we had slightly different feelings about how everything was going to go at the start. For instance, what donor route we were going to take, whether it was a known, unknown, from overseas, from Australia. But honestly, overall, I think we had the same outcome of just wanting to start a family. So yes, it was daunting and we went back and forth for a really long time, but then everything kind of just ended up aligning, didn't it? So yeah, we've just wanted to start a family for the longest time. So I don't know if that's how you felt, but I felt for me it was probably more personally overwhelming, the whole process. I would have loved to just, for Temica to just fall pregnant, just with my genes, but that's not possible, is it? So
Yeah, I think we're very good communicators. We've learned that over the time, which I think is super important because I always knew I had slightly a different viewpoint. I was maybe a bit more open to whatever options kind of arose, but I'm also just naturally the person in the relationship that would do more research, collect data. I'm coming back to Em with a lot of like what our options would be. So I think it wasn't until we were getting quite serious, like I had some like pre-testing done, and that's when we really had to work out what we were doing. And we were at a wedding, and one of our friends who had gone on to have a beautiful baby, she had said to us, like, would you consider a known donor? For us, it was something that we definitely weren't considering at the start. So for Em and I to both be there, I think was really important and integral on us making that decisions, because if I had just gone back to Em, I think it might not have landed the same way, but you were there and you got to hear her experience with it. So I think that really helped. And we started to, I guess, look at it differently. And I know there's all different donor routes, which we're so grateful for, but still being in a sperm bank situation, it can be daunting. And it has its pros and cons as well. But for us, yeah, we landed on a known donor and it just worked out really well. So that was good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think on that at the start when someone had mentioned a known donor, I said to you, absolutely not. Like I couldn't have thought of anything worse. And then when I thought about the fact of like, okay, how do you even go down the unknown donor route of like choosing this, and this, maybe knowing this, maybe not knowing that. When that opportunity arose with us, just out of nowhere, it weirdly felt like calming and just felt like fate had aligned, and I'd never felt more comfortable and more sure about a decision in my life, which was really strange because I don't want to say that I was against it, but I definitely wasn't thinking about it 1% of it being our IVF journey by any means. And now I've never felt more comfortable and calm with the decision, and I've had the least amount of stress with this IVF journey that I could have possibly imagined than having to go down the known donor. For instance, not saying that is a stressful decision, but when I compare the two now, I think it would have been for me. So I feel really good about our decision in the end.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's really cool. I didn't know that. You didn't tell me the story. When you sit where I sit, you don't often hear the stories about how people come to making those decisions. And it's really almost, we're all so unique in all individuals. You know, and it's so common in a couple that they just you don't feel the same about, you know, you some people want one thing, some people want another thing. That's so cool how you made that decision. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you to our bestie that helped us.
Yeah. And it just shows the power of like having a conversation. Like I remember on our journey, you hear certain things over and over, but then you might, go to an event and talk to a friend who's given, you know, firsthand experience, and then it just shifts your perception on, hang on a minute, and then you will sit down and actually think about it, because I think we both can say we've done that. So
I think what I will say on that is I think with the known donor, the reason why it seems scary before I even looked into it is because I think people just assume, oh, it's your brother or it's your it's not always the case. A known donor just means you might know of or someone might know of. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's someone firsthand in your life. But I think the benefit of knowing, I guess, like the genes, the background, the allergies, like you get to see from a baby from an older age, the personality, you get to know of or see all of the traits that you were hoping for in, I guess, of what me and Temica like as people. So there is a lot of perks with it. I think it's a bit of now that I'm a bit of a contradiction, but it is a misconception as to what I was thinking before. I think it is a good option for people to consider because it doesn't mean it has to be your nearest and dearest. It just means you get peace of mind and you know exactly what you're going to get, essentially, if that makes sense. If I said that right?
Yeah, it does make sense.
I was also going to say it helped. I really wanted to try IUI at the start, and I think that is a benefit of having a known donor also, is that you naturally have more that you're able to use,
that's true.
Have access to, and we can still pre-plan a family in the future with the same sperm donor as well. So I just think the moral of that story is really have some hard conversations about things that are important to you, things that align, and you'll be able to make a better decision and not just go down what you think maybe the first route is. And if you're open with it, I think it can work out in your favor.
Yeah, we had someone that came on the podcast that had a known donor, and she found it really cool because something happened with her baby and she needed to ask some questions, and she was just able to call up the donor and ask them about family history, and she just found that really beneficial, and I think that's cool. I think that's definitely perks of a known donor.
Yeah, and you know, everyone, you know, obviously I see so many people using known and obviously anonymous donors, but with the known donor, you get to decide what that relationship's going to be like with them. You come to a decision about what that relationship you're going to have with them and what the relationship the child might, and maybe no relationship at all. It may be that it's just purely simply a donation and there's no additional, you know, relationship, but you can decide, are they a special person in their child's life or not, or, you know, just a friend, or, you know, just you guys make the call.
Yeah, options. We love them.
Yeah, absolutely, options.
But I do like what you say about the IUI scenario, because you're right. You know, each vial or ampule of donor sperm is expensive as an anonymous donor from a sperm bank, and you know, they're great quality. You get to find out all the information about genetics and, you know, health and all those kind of things. But the truth is, each one cost you a bunch of money, whereas you know, each ejaculate that a sperm donor, non-sperm donor makes can, be used for a number of different treatments, and obviously each time you do it, the cost is much lower.
Yeah, just on that, Ben, can you talk to us a little bit about the different options of sperm, egg, and embryo donor?
Of course. Well, sperm donor we've just talked about, so you can have known or anonymous. The thing to realise in Australia is it all has to be altruistic. Okay, you can't be no one's out there donating sperm and getting paid big bucks for doing it. That doesn't happen here. It's not America. So in Australia, that's the way it's got to be. So if it's a known donor, what would happen is you would introduce. So I can't even remember exactly how things were, but I guess I would have had a consultation with your known donor and just to assess general health, background, fitness to donate sperm. Obviously, we want to find out, is it someone who has make sure there's no genetic abnormalities or things that would worry me about the person actually using their genetics. And then, of course, we check semen analysis, check for infections, do an extensive genetic test, and that's, once they pass that, and once they understand that's what happens with donation, and they understand the process, then they do counselling, of course. And so all the IVF units have donor units. So Monash IVF has got a donor unit that helps coordinate all of those things. They coordinate the depositing of the sperm sample. The sperm's got to go into quarantine for 3 months. And then basically it comes out of quarantine and is free to use. So infection test happens before quarantine, and then at the end of quarantine, and then provided the person's had adequate counselling and happy to proceed, and you guys, the patients, are happy to proceed, then the sperm's available for use. So it's pretty straightforward from a known donor. Anonymous donor, again, I think it's daunting for lots of people, like you guys said. But it's also, for a lot of people, it's the right way to go, because many people don't like the idea of having someone else that they are worried might be involved in some way, or that they feel that they have a relationship with, or they find it really challenging. So for lots of people, an anonymous donor is the way to go. And so we've got very active sperm banks, sperm from anonymous Australian donors or overseas donors. They're all really good quality sperm, and of course all those people have been checked from a health point of view, from genetic conditions, and you get to find out stuff like hair color, eye color, ethnic background, what they like doing, are they a great football player, whatever,
Yeah.
So, you get to find out all those things, but it's not the same, as you guys have said, it's not the same as someone that you know their background from a bit of paper. You don't know their background from actually personally knowing.
Yeah.
But the sperm is very high quality, and the process from probably when you walk in and you talk to the donor team and you say, listen, I want anonymous donated sperm, to the moment it gets there ready to use is probably about 3 months. Okay. So by the time you've done the counselling and selected the sperm, and it may have to arrive from overseas, and then you're kind of ready to go. So what Temica said at the beginning, which is, start early. Totally start early, just get your head around what you want to do, and start talking to people and start the process, because it can take a little while.
I think that's for all fertility. Start early. We all wish we knew that.
Yeah, we'll learn that lesson.
Currently got a couple of sets of friends at the moment that they're not quite sure if they want babies, but we just said to them literally, like, just get your embryos, because you never quite know. They're like, we might want them in the future, but like, our first-hand experience, we're just like, you can't wait, because things become more and more difficult. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. Like this old over 30, it is a real thing. Like I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but your egg count gets less and less.
And your quality
ticking.
Yeah.
We've just been telling our friends just to go and do it. The sooner the better. And so that's a takeaway that I would give to anyone listening. Just even if you're not sure about having kids, or right now, or maybe later, just go and see what your options are and get your levels tested.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I agree too.
Just going to add, obviously don't just go and have a baby for the sake of having a baby. But what's the harm in starting the testing? If it's on your mind and you're at that age where it is starting to need to be a little bit more of a serious conversation, just start. And then you might also on that journey be able to work out if it's what you want as well, which I think's important.
Yeah, I think it can be scary to go get the testing done, but it can be more scary to wait and get it done later and then think about hindsight. So you're right.
100%.
If you're thinking about it, just go get it done.
Yeah, it's just in the back of your mind constantly. So I think
Yes.
Em felt that as well. A lot of the spotlight had been on me in this journey, and recently, since I've been pregnant, Em's been able to get some tests done and she's felt that and thought, oh, wow, yeah, this is what it's like. You do need to really start. And so, yeah, I think it's important to just get the information and then you can make decisions from there.
And Dr. Ben, did you want to also cover the egg and embryo piece as well?
I can talk eggs, yes. So eggs, obviously eggs are a little bit harder to come by, for obvious reasons. So to get eggs, someone's got to go through an IVF cycle, take the injections for 2 weeks and have the eggs collected. So it's not quite the same as when someone's to make a sperm sample, sperm deposit. So it's harder to get eggs. Again, and there's anonymously donated eggs, and there's eggs donated, and there's eggs donated by someone that you know, so a known donor. So with known donors, again, you'd find a donor, you'd choose if you're a friend or family member or however you come across them. And if they want to donate, again, it has to be altruistic, so you can't pay them for it, but of course you can cover all their medical expenses, the costs of actually doing the IVF cycle, all of their medical tests and appointments and things like that. So, and then of course someone like that, obviously as a specialist, when we see them, we again assess them for health and make sure they're an appropriate donor, make sure they're not going to be at risk when they do it. We've got to make sure that they're not going to come to harm from the process, because what they're doing is so nice. If they're actually, going out of their way to donate their eggs, it's such a fabulous thing to do. I don't think that many people get hurt producing a sperm sample, but producing but getting eggs is a little bit more tricky. So it's something that's really cool when someone wants to do it. They've obviously got to go through counselling. And then if it's a known donor, we take them through the cycle, collect the eggs, and then obviously they can be frozen, and for future use, and then thawed out. With anonymous donation, it varies between the IVF units, the access to donor eggs. Monash certainly has a big donor egg program, different units. It's complex, as you can imagine. But yes, we've got eggs that come from overseas that are all fit the guidelines for Australian egg donation. And again, you get to find out things about the ethnicity, the age of the donor, what they like doing, their educational status, hair color, eye color, height, all the things you want to know. And of course, they're healthy, they've done genetic tests, all those kind of things. And those, again, you start the process pretty early. You choose your donor, and then after going through your counselling, then of course the egg just arrive, and they can be thawed out and used with sperm to create an embryo. So yeah, the process is pretty straightforward and very well trodden process. Many people have done it, and the donor teams are really very good at just taking you through the whole process.
Yeah.
Embryos is harder, to be honest. Embryos, I don't know if you guys have any friends who've used embryos. It's much harder. We have donor embryos, but they're just not as easy to come by, because they're usually couples that have, created, have been through IVF, created embryos, had a baby and decided they've got some extra embryos and they want to donate them, which is super cool, right? It's great when people do that. We love it. But there's not that many couples that do that. And so they're generally held by the IVF units. The donor teams have access to them, and then people can be on a waiting list for them in most cases. So it's a less commonly done thing, but as you can imagine, but we certainly do have embryos.
Wow, I actually thought that the embryo donation piece would be easier than the egg donation piece, because I just feel like, we both have leftover embryos, and I feel like a lot of people or couples do have leftover embryos. So I feel like I thought more people were donating them compared to eggs. But I thought eggs would be like more egg freezing.
We keep paying our storage fees and they're still sitting there. So
that's true.
They're probably
we haven't made a move, so you're right. Yeah.
But you haven't done it is probably a good market. I mean, listen, put the shout out on your podcast, because we love donor embryos. There's lots of people that need them. There's so many people who have problems that they really need embryos to get around, but they're very hard to come by.
And it's such a special journey too. Like we had a girl on the pod who shared her journey and then came back to talk about her embryo donation, and Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
that was
she
really
did it, and it was just a beautiful story.
She had a really good experience with it as well. And she got a lot out of it. So that was a cool story.
I think she's actually looking to donate the last one, isn't she?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah.
It's so cool. Third person reproduction is awesome, and is so cool, so exciting, and so different every single time. We haven't mentioned surrogacy, which is probably a whole nother podcast, but surrogacy is there as well. It's legal here. We do a lot of it, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, thank God for science. Seriously,
yeah, absolutely.
Thank God for science.
So I'll throw it back to you guys again. We touched on it earlier, and I know you mentioned that you both weren't on the same page with going down the known donor path. Do you mind sharing a little bit more on how that decision was made and some more insight?
Absolutely. So I think we spoke that a friend really helped open our eyes to a different option. And when Em and I spoke about that after that conversation, we really got quite serious on actually, this could be something as long as it felt right. I'm very much like an energetic person too. So if I was feeling a bit off, I feel like I would have put the brakes on straight away. But everything, I feel bad saying this, it just went so smoothly and so well. And I know that's not always like as easy as it can be for other people, but it was for us. So that same friend that helped us just explain how her known donor situation worked and really just put our mind at ease, mainly on how that relationship can go. I think Em mentioned it before that we just had in our head it would be someone from your family or someone super close to you, and that is something we couldn't envision for ourselves. So her situation was someone very distant. It was, I think, like a friend of a friend kind of thing. And, he'd already had a family, and she was able to just explain how it wasn't this big deal that we just kept putting this like weight on, I guess. And he was just really happy to help. So and to help start their family. So when we said what we were looking for in a donor, like our Tinder dating profile for a donor, we listed like tall, dark, handsome, all of these
amazing athletic abilities.
Yeah, I was going to say, you need your own soccer club.
We were writing a whole list, and she was just looking at us like rolling her eyes like, okay, well, if you went down a different path, you potentially aren't going to be able to pick all of these things either. So, maybe keep your mind open. And then it was maybe about a month after that wedding and that conversation that same friend actually found someone that was a mutual distant friend. So it just really fit the profile of what we would feel comfortable with. So, we're in different states. We're not constantly in the same circle, but we knew this person from like a while ago and just knew how amazing he is as a human being. And that was really important for us too. We thought that was kind of the edge that you didn't get to have maybe going down a different path, is that I knew this person was just, such a nice guy. And if he was willing to do it, then what an amazing thing on top of that. It just felt even more aligned and someone that I would want to do something so serious with. And so she was kind of like our... what would you call
baby
it?
guru. But what I will say, when she had mentioned this person, I'd obviously known him a long time ago and was friends with him back in the day when we had lived in the same state. And at the very first moment that she mentioned it, obviously it ticked all of our boxes. And then I don't know, I think we both just had this like feeling of like, okay, well, let's see. And then so this friend of ours then said, look, I'm gonna reach out to him, not tell him that it's you two, and just see what his response would be. And I think that was the perfect way to do it, because I didn't want him to do it because I know these
Your
people
connection.
and I'll just give them connection. And that just shows the beautiful person that he is. He did it regardless of who he knew that we were. And then when he found out who it was, so obviously he said yes at the start. He said, what a beautiful opportunity. I'd love to go and help someone with that journey.
Just off that, like how flattering too, like someone wanting your sperm, like your DNA. Ultimate compliment. But yeah.
But to be honest, if I put myself in his shoes, it is quite a big decision. And to say yes at the start to a bunch of randoms you didn't know you were giving it to, like it's a pretty beautiful offering. And then I think what was a true blessing is when he, our friend said, well, would you like us to tell him that it's for you too? And we said yes. And obviously, like, we're not in touch or in connection, but we have been in the past, so we know of each other quite well. We're just not in touch. And when she told him, he was honestly, truly, like, couldn't have been happier. So that just, like, it all just kind of kept just rolling in the positives just over and over again. So that really made us feel good, and that made him even feel better that he knew it was us, because there was that connection there, and it did feel right. And we just never expected it happening this way, to be honest. And I couldn't have been happier. I think, not that I would have been disappointed with another route, but this route just feels like so special now.
Your friend's like a baby matchmaker. She should go into like side business or donor matchmaker.
Definitely helped. And maybe like someone listening to this could think of it that way as well. Like maybe you need just someone else approaching it to just help break the ice. But yeah, for us too, like, we've been able to really navigate how that relationship would play out. And I think Ben touched on that as well. You have a little bit more power on, if something arose in the future and you wanted to change or pivot how that relationship looked, it can be a conversation, or it could come up. But we've just been super blessed that we were quite, I think we had pretty strict boundaries at the start. Like as soon as, I don't know, someone's doing this amazing thing, I think I could be someone that would start talking a lot more or get more involved because it just feels more natural. But we kept that boundary there that felt comfortable for us until we were ready if we needed to change that. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just, for right now, it has almost felt like someone we don't know on a more professional basis. Like we don't check in regularly. We're not sending a lot of updates or things like that, but the option's there. So I think that's just worth mentioning if you ever do consider going down this path, that you can make that story go the way you need it to. And providing obviously that person is going to do that as well. But definitely set boundaries that you're comfortable with. And Em and I have been really good at doing that with each other as well. Like I know where her boundaries sit with it, on who we would tell or who we would talk to about it. So it's really important to listen to each other with that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have a lot of conversations about it, and you guys are always on the same page and talking about it, which obviously helps.
She does all the groundwork. Let's be honest.
But you work through it together, which is cool.
No, we're definitely on the same page.
And Dr. Ben, for people or couples who want to become parents but may need a sperm or egg donor, what advice would you give them as they are starting to explore the process?
Listen, I think I said it before, start early. Start early and talk about it with your partner. Obviously, everyone's situation is different, of course, because someone coming at this as a single is very different to someone coming at it in a relationship like you guys, and even very different if you're coming at it from a heterosexual relationship point of view, because often there's already, quite a different voyage. So in that particular scenario, there's often a lot of pain already associated with it. So if you're in a heterosexual relationship and you need an egg donor or need a sperm donor, then you probably have undergone years of trying, lots of, what you feel like is failure, and a lot of sadness and a lot of guilt, and again, not each member of the relationship feels the same, and it's often, I'll have couples where there is a man who has no sperm, and you go down all the pathways of investigation, testing, everything to try to get sperm, and often they go through a biopsy, and then they go through another biopsy, and then they and then finally they are diagnosed with not having any sperm, and you talk about the idea of a donor, and it's quite different to the discussion that you'd have about a donor where it's natural. That's what you're going to be doing. You always knew you're going to be having a donor. It's just kind of what kind of donor you're looking at. Whereas, in this man's head, he's feels tremendous guilt and sadness, and not being able to, in his mind, father a child. Of course, he will be fathering a child, hopefully, because hopefully they'll go down the donor route and he will be a dad. But it often takes lots of counselling and lots of time, and then eventually come to terms with the idea of maybe securing a donor. So, everybody comes at it differently, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So, but yeah, start early, and just remember, when you're choosing a donor, you don't have to live with the donor. You don't have to walk down the, hold hands and go down the beach with the donor. Like, that person is not part of your relationship. Just as you guys have said, you have a donor, but that person's not in your pocket, which is, how you make that relationship is up to you. And I have often, couples and single women, trying to make a decision about a sperm donor, and will agonize over it. And it's such a hard decision, but also to some extent, it's not such a hard decision for some people. Talking to some people, they say, actually, I really want them to be, have tremendous athletic ability and to be tall, dark, and handsome. But actually, I just want them to be a human without any genetic problems who can give me some sperm so I can have a baby, So, yeah, sometimes you can't get in your head too much about it and make a decision to move forward and create that baby that you want.
Yeah, that end goal, that baby.
Yeah.
That's what we all want.
Yeah, I agree.
Walking into fertility treatments.
When you guys started fertility treatment, and I think especially with the work that you do, Em, how did you balance your life and, supporting each other through it when it wasn't working?
Yeah, I can start on this one.
Yeah.
I think for me, starting off with the career that I've chosen, I am, even before fertility, living with a lot of guilt. Like, there's a lot of me going to pursue my dreams and passion, and Temica just being the yes man and always saying yes, take that contract in Norway, go to Japan. I mean, I think I've been to 7 different countries now. Out of our 11-year relationship, I've probably lived overseas for maybe 8.
Maybe like 50%.
Yeah, at least.
Wow.
At times we've gone without seeing each other for 8 months at a time.
Oh, that's huge.
It hasn't been easy. So a lot of people actually come to us for long distance advice. Don't do it. It's brutal. But what we have, where we have grown in this relationship is our communication, which is why we're so strong. And I definitely didn't have it at the start, and there has been some really difficult times. And I think the most difficult time was really when we started IVF with our distance, and we haven't always been able to be together. But I think the toughest time in our relationship is when we started this IVF journey, even though it's been amazing now that we've been pregnant. But what was difficult in parts of the process, I actually had to be abroad, and Temica had to be here. Like, she had to have certain testing, and then she had the endometriosis, and a lot of it she had to go through alone. So there is that guilt for me being away, but not just being away through a very difficult time, which was really hard for me, being away through some of the no's that we got with our IVF treatments, and obviously eventually the yes, which was amazing. But it was sad. We weren't actually together in the same country when we got our yes. So it was a beautiful moment over the phone, but there's nothing like it in real time, right?
So
yeah, she's going to jump in here.
I'm laughing thinking about that day, because I didn't, on like just speaking to what you were just saying then, and then I'll track back. But when we did get that yes, I hadn't had the trigger shot, and if anyone has been on this journey, they'll end up knowing what that is. But so I knew if I did take an at-home pregnancy test, there was a higher chance that it would be a little bit more accurate, because it would be that I'm pregnant. So when I found out, I called I think maybe 10 times, and she wasn't answering. And yeah, I was like,
not playing.
I was like, you need to pick up your phone. I'm going crazy. Like, I needed to tell someone, and I didn't want it to be anyone else. So I wanted the first person that I told to be you.
Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure I screened a few of your calls because it was a really important game. And I'm like, on one today, like, can't it wait? I literally said, like, there's 5 minutes left in extra time. This is a Classico in Mexico. And, like, can't I just call you in a little bit? She's like, leave now.
That's hilarious.
It's very unlike me to, give you five missed calls
to blow up your phone.
So that was like super, super exciting. But I think from a support level and like navigating that, I'm really, really blessed. We both are that we have such amazing family and friends to lean on. But it can also, like, I have the best support system and I still felt really alone and isolated.
Yeah.
I think after when the IUI treatments didn't work, and just for everyone to know, I think we did that about 4 times. That's when we pivoted and we knew, like, we always kind of knew, okay, if this didn't work, we'd move then to IVF. But we didn't know that Em would be overseas when I had to start that. So that was a bit daunting. I'm not someone that's very good in the medical situations, like white coat fever vibes. And I like having Ben be so supportive, and to be honest, the Monash team, it really did help change that situation for me. I actually came into the Monash clinic to get some of my shots that I needed to do daily, just because when I was home alone, I couldn't bring myself to do it myself. And then, you build up the courage, and my sister ended up doing some for me. But, it was a really busy time. For 2 weeks, you're driving here, there and everywhere. And to not have your partner at home helping you with that, it is tricky. So I guess I kind of understand how someone doing that alone could feel. But we just checked in with each other a lot, and I honestly just tried to lean into just letting myself feel the disappointments if that came up, and it did actually happen for me. I feel like I'm such an overachiever that, when you get a number or you're fixated on something, you just think that's not good enough. Like, what do we do? And with Ben's guidance, he said, look, like, he could look at my history and things that were going on for me and make that informed decision to still go ahead with getting the eggs out, the retrievals. So, yeah, we're just so grateful that we had that support. But for Em and I, the support needed to happen, over a phone, which is hard.
Yeah, what I will say on that is, I think now that I've done so many years of back-to-back and long distance, but going through this one, the biggest learning that I had, so for anyone, is navigating this potential unforeseen long distance journey via IVF. Hopefully not. But if you are, it's like when I was at work, so football, I was there. But once I was out of there, I made sure I was on Brisbane time, and I was there for her anytime that she needed. I think in the past, when it hasn't been an IVF, maybe I'm going for coffee or screening some phone calls, who knows. But no, I'm normally doing my own thing when I'm overseas. I tend to switch off a little bit more, but I was really plugged in when I knew she was going through a tough time and struggling, and the guilt was overriding me of not being there. I remember doing the one trigger shot for her, and sadly she fainted in front of my arms. I just remember feeling that overwhelming anxiety that I can't be there for her. Thank God she's going into Monash and the team, is helping her, but, you still can't help but feel like, is it all worth it? Like, is a career worth missing out on all these things? The guilt overrides. But what I will say is, for people in that position, just to be as present as you can when you're not at work. And we are really grateful and so blessed. Like, both of our families are absolutely amazing. Like, we couldn't have asked for better people in our life. So she had them, but like, when you don't have your partner, you do feel alone. So
I think I cried in Ben's office. I think that happened. Like towards the end.
Part-time therapist.
Of that. It's just decision fatigue sometimes that I think can
yes.
And that's where I was at. I didn't have Em as a sounding board right there in the moment. So when you're getting that information straight away, you just, I felt, because in my situation, it was that we couldn't really see how many eggs I had in one ovary. So it was you're kind of going in blind a little bit, and do you go ahead with the retrieval, because it is it's a financial thing, and it's a physical thing, it's an emotional thing. Like, there's so many ways to weigh that up. And yeah, leaning on your specialist, I was like, so sorry, I felt terrible, but Ben just really helped. He said, no, like, I think you're doing the right thing for you, judging off everything feedback you've been giving me. So I got to go into that retrieval feeling a lot more calm because of that. But yeah, there's always highs and lows, I guess.
I feel like the doctors take on so much, like we're in the office crying, we're on hormones, we're asking all these annoying questions, we have all these symptoms and side effects. Would you say that's quite common, Ben, having your patients in your office crying?
Well, we've got tissues everywhere. But the core thing is because it's hard, right? It's not, going into an egg collection, having no idea what's on one ovary, and you just, we get a feel, of course, because we see it all the time, and we get an idea from blood tests and how we think you're going to respond. But sometimes there's unknowns, right?
Yeah.
And it's scary. So
It's overwhelming.
there's a lot of crying.
Yeah.
Yes. But I can't imagine how hard that would be to, like, you guys being apart through the process and then having the guilt of that being away. But you're working, you can't go back. You can't say, hey guys, I'm off for a couple of weeks. Like, you're committed, you're in a contract, but yeah, I don't really know anyone that's gone through that, even the FIFO. So
Yeah.
that's just another level on top of that would make it so much harder.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge
I think it just that resilience just comes in, and we've been doing this for such a long time, as Em has said, but this really tested us in a good way, I guess, because we really became I think we knew quite quickly how emotional and maybe that roller coaster that we're going to feel, and that we need to up the ante a little bit on being open with each other on how we are feeling. And also, I took on a responsibility where once I fell pregnant, I felt I really wanted to be there and advocate for my friends or anyone else that was going on that journey as well. So I think it really helps once you've been through it, that you can recognize that struggle and what you need in those moments, and it, like, don't go into your rabbit hole, like, still keep talking to your friends, your family, let them know you're having a bad day. I think can't express that enough, how much you need to keep communicating, because someone like me who doesn't have a problem with that, like, I even felt that I felt like I was retreating a little bit, and I just like I was the only one going through it. I was the only one on this, like, hard journey, and it's not the truth. So just keep talking with each other.
I think you agree with that too, Lucy. We both relate to that so well. It doesn't matter whether you're, an introvert or not, or like you just spiral and retreat. And
I don't know why that happens. It's really strange.
It's weird. We only spoke about this last week, and it's a thing that happens.
There's so many things, I guess, that are weighing on it. Like, you really want this family, and then you think you're you're part of the failure of it not happening, and then I don't know, the people pleasing in me, or like just the perfectionist in me not being able to perform, if you want to call it that. There's just so many elements to it. That I think, it does make it so tricky and so much for you to have to, like, process, and constantly, like, you're just getting new information every few days. And, even once you've had the retrieval, it's like, how many embryos did you make? How many have kept surviving? Like, you're on all the time thinking about it. So it's mind-boggling.
It's a lot. You said you guys went through 4 IUIs and then you moved to IVF. Did you guys feel a big difference with that emotionally, with that process of IUI fertility treatment straight to IVF?
Yeah, I think the IUI was not a long shot, but we had some friends who had a bit of luck with it, and we thought we'd try our luck with it. And not to say that, we maybe could have kept trying and maybe we would have got lucky. But I think the reason why, it's not that we were less stressed with IVF, but we knew there was more concrete, solid evidence that it had a higher percentage of it working and getting us over the line. But I think what was the most difficult was Temica. Like, you mentioned it slightly, but she was a bit too modest. Like, she felt like she was failing us, which I think is really important for people to know, like, that's not the case. Like, if I was the one carrying, I also could have had the 4. the 4 no's or whatever it was. But yeah, I just think that we knew that going into IVF and then going on that journey, it's like we were always going to end up there. We were just hoping we could get through the IUI line. But yeah, we just felt a lot, especially with Ben's recommendation and the percentages and knowing all the statistics, you just felt a little bit more comfortable with it. I mean, we were still stressed. I think everyone is stressed a little bit to a degree to conceive. But yeah, we would definitely knew that it was going to be probably a little bit of an easier route.
Yeah, I think it just ups the ante a bit. Like IVF just feels a little bit more, for me anyway, like, okay, this is it. Like, this is the last resort. Like, there's nothing else that you can really do after this. So it definitely upped the pressure in one way. But with IUI, I've actually found that probably a little bit harder, if I'm being honest, which I don't know why, but you're going into it and you haven't had the nose. So you're just that like full of positivity. You're like, I could be pregnant. Like, so it just wore me down a little bit more because it was the start of the journey and we did keep going. And with IVF, I think it probably just put the pressure on me a little bit more in terms of, okay, well, if this didn't work, how many times would I then do this? Like, you start to feel that end line like creeping up more and more. So yeah, maybe for Em, she was a bit more optimistic, a bit more positive, because she's going off statistics or things that she's hearing and other stories, whereas I felt a bit more like, oh my gosh, like now I really hope this works. And when I started to get feedback in my appointments where it wasn't going great, that's when I really did crumble a little bit and thought, okay, I need to like pull myself together here. But yeah, everyone's different. My experience, it didn't go as how I had it in my head, but I think most people probably feel like that, right, Ben?
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you guys at the start, your first IUI, I feel like everyone's so hopeful at the start. Yeah. Did you guys both think, oh my God, this is it. It's going to work.
Yes. I thought one hit wonder.
Yeah.
I was
We're all guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. I also just like, I actually believe that I still believe to this day that that time could have really worked that first time. I still feel positive about it, even though I've got a negative result. But then that positivity dropped off pretty quickly for me. I was just not robotic, but I just thought, oh, I'm going to protect myself and just like remove that hope a little bit. And I just went into all of them from there, just trying to be a little bit less pressure on myself, a bit more just, I guess, free with it. I also had, I don't know if this is super common, so maybe Ben can speak to this, but one of my IUI rounds, I ended up having too many eggs that we couldn't go ahead. So to then go into IVF and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have so many eggs like with IVF, and then that didn't happen. It really confused me because I was like, I couldn't even do IUI 1 month because I had too many. So yeah, like, does that happen often, Ben?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd totally forgotten about that, but you're right. And it does, well, whenever we use drugs, whenever you use medicines, medicines increase your chance because more eggs means more chance of a sperm meeting an egg, right? And we often do that. We might start without using medicines and then we might kind of step up and start using drugs, which suck if you don't like injecting. I've forgotten about the injection thing. It's all coming back to me. But yeah, so as soon as you start using injections or ovulation induction drugs, then tablets, then you've got the possibility of having more than one egg, which is kind of what you're aiming for because you get more chance. But we'll do an IUI with 1 egg, no problem. 2 eggs, 3. At a push, depending on the circumstances, and sometimes we'll say no, but 4 eggs, definitely you're out. And
I think that's where I start. I think it was like 4 or 5. Randomly.
You're out,
month.
man.
Yeah.
You're so out.
Wow.
We do not want
quad mum.
No quads. Yeah, no. We really our big aim is to try not to make multiples. So a couple of eggs, it's fine. 4, you're gone.
But yeah, so for me, the IUI journey wasn't. Yeah, it was up and down for sure. And the IVF just felt like the pressure just felt a little bit more heightened.
I was probably a bit too positive and optimistic. I was like, that's all right, we'll go again, like a soccer game, just keep on rolling the dice. But yeah,
It was good,
I
though.
totally understand that. Temica was in a different position to me and I was more the cheerleader. So
Yeah.
it's really hard for me to speak on because I was just trying to be the optimistic one.
I think that's so common. Our
Yeah.
partners were both the same.
I feel like
Someone
one needs to be
the rock.
100%. If we're both down, oh my goodness, Ben's going to have everyone
Can you imagine?
on the floor in his office
Yeah,
crying.
Ben's got everyone crying. All the tissues are flying. It's all happening.
I can probably speak on on behalf of the partners here. Sometimes if you're too optimistic, that's not good because sometimes they're down and you just need to be down with them.
Yeah.
So you got to
That's true.
got to pick your battles.
Yeah.
I think you guys describe it so well. Like your support's been really good, even though you've been overseas. You know, you've done everything you can, and you clearly communicate super well. That's if I could say something about from that point of view, it's just communication. If you've got someone, if you've got a partner, and you're going through it, then actually talk because otherwise it can drive a wedge. Fertility can drive a wedge between the two of you, and it's
So
really hard. The other thing I'd say about coping is you guys are both busy. You both got a lot of stuff going on, right? And that's good and bad. But I have a lot of people say, should I quit work? I'm like, no, don't quit work because then all you'll be thinking about is your IVF. Do not. And people say they're doing it. And I think it's a terrible idea. Obviously, reducing work, reducing stress, all those kind of things so you can cope, so you can get through it. Totally. But you guys have a lot going on in your lives. You've got other things to do. You do have some other things to take your minds off just thinking about when the next test is and so on. And that's, it's good.
Yeah, I totally agree.
100%.
I couldn't imagine both of us like not doing anything and then just sitting around waiting to get pregnant. That would not fly with us.
no.
I think you need like to find that balance of not avoiding it, but just being able to keep busy still and definitely try and keep like your normal routine for sure. Like I started a lot of like the prep stuff so much earlier in terms of like acupuncture and other things. Like I didn't do it all at once. It just became part of my life. So I didn't feel like I was changing everything just to try and fall pregnant. I was really like looking at it still from a holistic point of view, but so much earlier. I think all of that change and all of your life just being so, I think like you're heightened on trying to fall pregnant is not going to help you mentally.
Yeah, routine I think is good.
Yeah, routine's good. We've tried both.
Yeah, we have.
And lastly, a question for all of you. What would you say to someone starting to explore donor conception? And maybe we'll start with you, Ben.
My comment is super easy. Just do it. It's so exciting. By the time at the point that you go, yes, I'm prepared to take that leap and do it either as I've talked about the different, the different approach that people will take because heterosexual couples are quite different to same-sex relationships or single people. But if you're thinking about doing it, it's not that scary. There's lots of people to hold your hand along the way, and it's super exciting. There are bits of it that are terrifying, and there are bits of it that are heartbreaking, but, just get on with it, go and talk to someone and take the plunge because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll back that actually. I think pretty much what Ben said, like it is a pretty exciting journey, and yes, some of it will be terrible, terrifying, but then all in the end rewarding. And I think my biggest advice would to be obviously communication, and to get that really close circle, that network that just supports you through and through, and then just to be like with us, like we were open-minded because it could lead to the most beautiful, magical story. So just having an open mind and just taking the plunge.
I'll go down a different route. I think for me, actually, something that just popped up into my head is our families and speaking with them and educating them on how we feel comfortable with it as well. So, yes to everything Ben and Em said. And then on top of it, like, don't let something like, oh, what will my parents, like, if there's the thoughts that are popping up into your head on like what you think people will think or how they might treat it differently, just open those conversations up. again, we were in the situation where we knew we were always going to have to go down this path. So it's different. But if you're in a situation where you didn't realize that you'd need to use a donor, that just be open with your close circle, so you're letting them in. And because that can be daunting, even for us. We don't want, we want to try and control a narrative on how it's spoken about or how it's talked about. And there's only so much you can do with that with your family. So, we've just been super open about that and what's important to us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just so impressed with that answer.
That was pretty impressive.
Like you said, because we are a same-sex couple. So yes, we've known about it, but it's still difficult to navigate this with our family, especially mine. They're a little bit more
Traditional.
A little bit more traditional, living under the rock, you could say. Whereas Temica's family is a lot more open. And so it was a difficult conversation at the time. But yeah, just being open and honest and having those conversations.
I think what, they might have questions. They want to know things.
Yeah.
So just being able to speak to them openly about what you want, a huge thing like in counselling that you would go through, they will help you with this, I guess, to some extent. But I had more personal counselling with that to help how I wanted to navigate it. And for us, like a big thing was our donors always referred to as a donor, not the father or the dad. So that was just something easy for us to implement with our families. And that took out a lot of like the heaviness of how are they going to talk about this, or how are they going to feel around this as well? So, and we talk about it with so much love. Like it's not this weird taboo thing for us. Like we're just so happy and so grateful. And we get to tell our child how special their donor is. Because they're so selfless. Like I just think that's such a beautiful thing. So trying to just change that narrative around how you feel about a donor, I guess, is important.
That's special.
I love that too, because I think families can be difficult in so many scenarios, and especially on this journey for everyone, like you said. So I think it's really good to communicate and make sure that you're clear with them on what you guys are aiming for them to understand about it all and get them on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. I feel like you guys were so raw and vulnerable, and I feel like this episode is going to make so many people feel less alone, and they're going to learn a lot as well. Even your little stories, I was getting goosebumps throughout some of the stories, so it was really special and really
nice
cool.
Special story.
And it's nice to see all of your connection too, the doctor and patient connection. And I absolutely love that you could go into your clinic to get your injections. I'm so jealous. I feel like everybody's going to be calling Dr. Ben now. Dr. Ben, I'm coming in, do my injections.
I was like, should I mention this?
Oh my God.
No, I absolutely love it. I've never heard of that before.
Definitely do not want me to deny, do we?
Oh, you're nurses.
You're nurses.
Nurses, not me. Oh, it'd be terrible.
Yeah. No.
I'm not trained.
Yeah. And they were the ultimate hype girls as well. Like they really helped, like in that time that I didn't have M, they really understood that and were able to like, I guess, customize that for me. That's not everyone's situation. But yeah, it definitely made it part of the journey.
Very grateful to the Monash crew.
Yes.
Thanks, girls.
Yeah.
The nurses are amazing.
Yeah, I think they would have loved that too.
Yeah.
Feel part of it as well.
They did. And then I think when I didn't come back, they're like, oh yay, it worked.
Oh yeah.
When such great news happens, then like, you don't see each other. Like I haven't seen Ben since, but
It was actually really exciting walking in here and seeing your belly.
Yeah. It's nice to be on the other side of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.